before getting into the actual chapter, I would just like to say, rest in peace to Candy Flurry. I'm sad to see it go. I knew before even a potential announcement was put out there that when I read that chapter, that was like straight into like the pace picked up 1,000,000%, and it was like, yeah, it looks like it's doing the whole rush to the end kind of thing that I've seen many a Shonen Jump series end up doing, and I'm hoping I don't see that with Red Hood. Because I like Candy Flurry as well, but I can definitely see where it was difficult for some people to get into the concept. I like the characters and the weirdness of the powers, but I can definitely understand why some people weren't quick to jump on it. Whereas like Red Hood definitely is a way easier series to kind of just digest in the concept. It's very kind of like old Brothers Grimm kind of like style, and definitely with the big thick waifus, I think people will definitely be able to get onto that way more. So I'm hoping Red Hood ends up staying. Like, I liked both Red Hood and Candy Flurry, and I'm sad that Candy Flurry is pretty much done. Whereas we still have Red Hood, and I'm hoping Red Hood can survive it out, because it's definitely got more of a general easy to process like layout as what like from already what we have at least so far. As well as, I like the main character too. I mean, both of them use odd, non-regular weapons. Most people are out there using like swords and stuff. I love swords, but I love seeing a character use something different every once in a while. Like we had, at least there's some movies using a big-ass lollipop to smash people. And Velu has his guns and his axe. But anyway, going into this chapter, we have the whole setup with like the cops and robbers, and the characters were, pretty much like, okay, well, we need to figure out what we're gonna do. And I thought it was like more from the standpoint of a lot of the participants, and build a gap, figure out a way to keep distance and not get caught. Like it's gonna be Grimm and Debonair to pretty much capture them. Whereas I'm guessing these are going to be the people to pass, like a handful of characters. You had that dude Bonkers, like he's one of them. What's the guy's name? Mary Opius? I think they just had to call him Mario or something. You have a girl with like a weird big garb like setup, and she's got like a mask on and an odd hat. And then like some small girl, like although like the juggler. I'm trying to see what her name was exactly in this chapter. What was the tall girl's name? Miguel. I don't know if it's supposed to be something close to Miguel, but I don't think so. Just based off of, I'm pretty sure it's a chick. I mean, it's not uncommon for that a girl could have a dude's name or something. Maybe I'm just mispronouncing it. Either way, you got that person is like seemingly like really revved up to like do anything with these people. And then what's the guy's name? Nulo Zhao. I think he's like breath powers. He's got like this elixir from like his village or his people, and it gives him strength and breath. Oh, the juggler name was it Porshen? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right either. But they, in their mind, I can see where they're going at. It's not as much keep distance and run from the problem. It's try and subdue the problem like head on directly. And they're like, from what we've seen, Velu, he's like going directly for the cuffs. If they can disarm the cuffs, they can't be arrested. They're kind of looking at way more of a technical standpoint of like, well, if they can't arrest us at all, then we can't lose. My only thing is like, if they're going to be keeping distance and doing it like this, kind of like trying to directly disable the cops so the robbers can get away, does that mean that everybody that ran off is also going to end up passing? Because logically speaking, they would also not end up getting caught if like the two people that are potentially going to arrest them end up staying and are dealing with these five. And before like some of the stuff with like Grimm and like the big werewolf and seeing Debonair and stuff, I would have guessed like it wouldn't have been a power level based thing, but like there's definitely a power level based thing between like these characters. Like Grimm and Debonair definitely, like there's no way that they can be defeated from these cats. I can only see them doing something more like, taking away their cuffs so they can't get them as a means of, oh yeah, like we can beat them only from a rules standpoint, not from a actual fight standpoint. And as well as like any real stat, I would assume that they're outclassed dramatically by these two. Like both of these women are high class. We don't know their ranks, but I'm willing to guess from like their general displays and hype that they've had, they're pretty high up there. I'm guessing Grim is above Debonair, but at the same time, I'd be willing to bet that both of that, regardless, is still leagues above any of these, pretty much recruits. So they're just going to be doing their thing, trying to keep out for, what was it, like 2 to 3 hours, I think they said. That whole setup, I'm like, it's going to be weird to see like how they end up holding out for that long, considering these guys dramatically outclass them. And I'm willing to bet, though, at the same time, Grim and Debonair are not going to be going all out, because like at that point it'd be pretty much like, yeah, you lose by default, rather than them just kind of, trying to press them and trying to like put on some effort to make them, to work. But the next couple chapters, I do think this is going to be a really entertaining general kind of opening action piece. But I do want to get to the more, like, some of the more, like, serious plot stuff, because not from, like, a standpoint of, like, I feel like the author has to, but I'm hoping that the author can pick up a little bit of the pace, so we just, at least until we can see if Red Hood can live, because I know that's one thing that's a problem with a lot of, like, newer gen audiences, is they need, like, they don't like stuff being as slow, because like you have to get them hooked early, otherwise they're just gonna, like, a lot of people are gonna ignore the series even as it comes out, even if it gets to more hype and interesting parts. If like people aren't already hooked onto it, there's gonna be a lot of people that won't even bother trying to get caught up or trying to see like where it's at currently. So I'm hoping Red Hood survives. I do like it. I mean, this chapter was pretty straightforward. You were pretty much just getting like an explanation of what they were doing, kind of like giving a recap. But obviously, this is the final thing that they have to do in order to pass the the boot camp for the Hunters Guild. They have to survive, and in order to actually step foot on the island, or they're going to end up having that 3-month trek back. So everything beyond this is probably going to be the actual meat of like events. Like, this is still training. They're not battling monsters that are trying to eat people or do whatever horrific things. Right now, they are just going through the the opening portion. Like, we're in a very early shonen area. Like, when you're seeing stuff like, explaining Debonair's the hex that she got on her from a witch, and like how she like weaponized and stuff. I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of people like that. That's going to be a lot of the general power system thing, is people who are just set up with some curse of magic that they're able to weaponize, like figure out how to use it to their own advantage. I want to know what's going to happen with Velu. Is he going to end up having a power? Because if characters end up like this is going to be obviously like a big thing when it comes to larger scale abilities and whatnot, like later on. I would assume the main character is going to get something. It'll be really weird if the whole hexes and stuff are part of like a regular setup for characters, but he doesn't have it. Because then it's going to be like, well, he's just going to have what, like 2 guns and an axe and like have some gadgets. I feel like he's got to have a power at some point, because it just seems like that's almost not required, but that's essentially going to be needed in general to combat any of these powerful characters later. Because I would assume that, your superhuman general ability can only get you so far. I mean, Velu doesn't have to have anything crazy for a power, but I would assume he's going to have something. Maybe he could literally just be like enhanced physical strength. You can easily use that. I mean, look at Deku. But as of right now, it was a very easy to understand chapter. The characters are just kind of like going over their strategies, talking about like essentially how they need to like look at this whole scenario and how they can pretty much get past this, because they know they can't defeat these two in like actual combat. All they can really do is figure it out from the standpoint of the match, what they can do from the rules of the game, of the trial. Because even like Bonkers, like that dude, he's like this big jack dude with this whole big suit of armor and stuff. I don't think he can physically overpower Grim or Debonair at all. Like, even without really kind of getting into their bags of like their abilities and stuff, I don't think that he can handle them whatsoever. And there's even a part where he like goes in and Grim just says like, all right, yeah, I can just start kind of pushing him. He looks like he's kind of doing somewhat to kind of guard against it, but you can tell that she's not like going all out, whereas like you can see his like sweat drops and stuff, and then the telltale signs of anime struggling is, is there a sweat drop, or that's usually a sign of something, whether they're like unnerved, caught off guard, whatever. You can tell the difference of the mindset between the two characters when one of them has that nervous sweat drop, going down. Anyway, Like I said, good chapter, pretty fair. Nothing too good, nothing too crazy, but it was just in general like a pretty fair and solid chapter. I like what's going on. I do want to get to like more of the larger scale stuff because I can wait. I've been reading and watching shonen stuff a long time, so I know more of the older style where it takes a while, where they can take like the mangas can take their time setting stuff up and getting in the swing of things, whereas like now it's got to be very fast until they get past that axing point. So I'm hoping that that Red Hood can just survive that, because I do like it. I liked Candy Flurry, I liked Build King, but unfortunately those didn't make it, so let's hope Red Hood does. But anyway, other than that, comment below, thumbs up the video, more for the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. For that, I appreciate everybody's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening. Bye.